Yeah, it's fine. We are gonna take some more time, maybe.
Yeah.
Good evening. Okay, so till now we had been a lot of stuff. Like last day we had discussed like middlewares and the permissions and everything. So till then, you guys have any doubt or maybe any question regarding Node or something coming pop up like regarding Node or Mongo or Express or anything we till now we came across? Abhishek Sharma. Yes, Abhishek Sharma. I don't know. I have the right to unmute or not. Okay, I guess I can.
Hi sir, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
So it's working for me. So like that restaurant database. It's all working, but I have like some little error in schema part, like that user schema part. When we give like to the role, we give a required true, and it's a default also, like true we give, no, right, like in user schema part. So whenever we write data to postman about that user data, like if we don't write a data, like if we don't add the role true, means it should like default it should take the role as a true, right?
Right.
But it's not working for me. But when I that, like, it's showing error in postman, but when I take that role part required false, it's working for me. So can you know, like, what's the error, like
Okay.
whenever that, like that
Okay.
can you, so you
Okay. So
understand, right?
for role property, right?
Yeah, like whatever part, like I give required and default part, like the default part is not working for me. I don't know why. Like if
Okay.
I
Do
give
one thing.
false, it's working for me.
Uh-huh. Okay. So here do one thing, just cross check with the existing data as I'm telling everyone. If you're getting certain errors, so the first recommendation is just try with the existing one. If you're still getting error and not understanding what is actually happening behind the scene, then you can go ahead and raise your error. So firstly, for role, right, as I can see, a role would not be true by itself. True role would be something like role user, which is 0 by default.
Yeah. No, yes, sir. Actually, it was before. It was like true, but then you changed to 0, 1. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
I
But
changed to number then.
yeah, but it's not working for me. Like it's showing error. It's saying that I should type something to the role part, like 0, 1 year 2, like 0, 1 year 3, 2. But if I type, it's running perfectly. Like data is being sent to database. It's storing everything fine. But if I don't type, it's showing error. But the default part is not working. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's about.
Interesting. So you are telling that your code is required true and
Yeah.
default is already there.
Yes.
And if you're not sending the role property in the body, then it is not working. Like
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
the required is still requiring and the default was is not consumed.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That's.
Okay, okay, that is very weird actually, but it seems like required or something. There must be some typo mistake or something, I
Okay,
guess,
so
because
I will
the
look into it.
same.
Maybe I will share my code in Telegram after this class. Maybe.
Yes, do one thing after this session, immediately after the session only, just share your code, like the user model, and then we
Yeah.
can, and also share the error code if you're
Error
getting
code.
any.
Okay, sir.
Then we can discuss more right there. Okay,
Sure.
Abhishek,
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else have any doubt or something? Hello, or shall we begin? Interesting. Okay, so till now we came across many more stuff. Now I guess moreover the fundamentals and everything are, we are mostly clear about. Now what we can do is what I'm thinking of, let's move to React.js from today. So let's make it more fun a bit. And then you know what, like suppose if you're learning something and then if we are learning multiple things at the same time, then we should not, like, what I prefer is like, suppose if you're learning maybe numbers and alphabets, right? So we should not do something like learning numbers all the way from bottom to end and then move forward to alphabets. What I prefer is like suppose maybe 50% or 70% learning numbers and like left 30% moreover and move to the alphabet part, so that you can again come back for that 30%, and you have and your mind should remind all the 70%. Like then you can understand, like suppose there you are giving a short of a gap, you are taking a short of a break from learning numbers, but you are learning something else, and the same time your mind also needs to hold whatever you have learned till now, right? So let's move to the other part like React.js, and then again, like as much as we have already implemented, those things we'll be implementing on React.js, and then again we'll come back to Node.js and move forward. Like suppose whatever our module requires, and so on. Like suppose placing orders, the payments, and everything, right? So we'll be handling all of these things. But today, let's start React.js basic. What do you say? Any recommendation or something? Or you want me to begin? So I had a question about JWT. Is it like encryption for our same data used as SOAP token? Yes, actually encrypted with your secret with a certain algorithm which you can customize. So by default, it's like 256, I guess. So you can also change the algorithm. And yes, it is encrypted version. Begin with basic. Yes, of course, I will begin with the basic one. Okay, so let's begin. Let me share my screen and move forward what we actually had. Okay, this is our place where we are going to make other stuff. Perfect. So React.js, right? Anyone have any idea what is React.js or something? Like, let me just open the chat box so I can know more about you. Anyone have been through React.js or any preference for any frameworks or something? Front-end JS frameworks. Okay. Yes. Okay. So firstly, before moving to React.js, we need to define many more stuff. Like, firstly, React is not a framework. React is a library. Now, there should be sort of comparison. Like, suppose, yeah, it's almost same, but there are a lot of differentiations between library and framework. So both could belong to the JavaScript or any other programming languages, or maybe any other modules. But framework and library, so there are multiple differences. Like the very first difference is the structures. Like suppose a framework has the entire modules and submodules itself. A framework is the framework for the modules and submodule itself. Like in example, if you want to suppose you are working with the front end side, right? Suppose you are designing certain modules and all, but this time you also have to work. Yeah, and this time you might have to use the API and everything, right? So on that way, you also need to use certain packages. But here, if you're working with frameworks, then you already get those kind of functionalities and everything included in the particular framework. But in library, you don't get much stuff. In library, you get all of these things. Yeah, in libraries you get like multiple functionalities for designing and other perspectives, but not the entire module. So that's why there are npm packages, which we already have discussed. So there are npm packages to get everything on hand. So in npm package, like suppose if we are working with React, and the same scenario, if we need to work with APIs and something like maybe more designing fundamentals or certain principles, then we also need to move forward and get certain packages from npm, which is absolutely fine. Uh, okay, so firstly, let's learn what actually React is. So React belongs to Facebook, And just a short example of framework and library is React is a library. So on Angular, like I won't say competitor, but yes, Angular is the on the other side, Angular is a framework that belongs to Google. Okay, now it's very short. They have mentioned like it's declarative component bits. This is the best feature which React provides. Of course, the other functionality like the other libraries and frameworks also has this, but React has a lot of React has a lot better developer experience, I guess, as much as I have faced. Learn once, write everywhere, because if you learn React, so 70% React Native you know, and then for the rest 30% you need to move forward and learn React Native. Basically, React Native is again a short of a cross platform language. Like suppose you can build iOS and Android application based on React Native. And don't worry, it's not like our website running on a certain wrapper in the mobile application. React Native literally provides React Native under the hood literally converts those code to the native application and gives the native user experiences. Of course, there are like pros and cons, but yes, React, if you're learning React, then you are learning React Native almost 70%. Now here is a short code what React Native is. So if you just prefer like this is a class component, but we are not going to work with class because it's too I prefer a bit messy, and we are going to learn a lot of these things. But let's go to the documentation. Okay, so React has many more stuff like if you want to build a React application, then there are multiple ways to build React application. So suppose if you like, yeah, obviously if you're familiar with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then you might add a short of a JavaScript, uh, like a short of a CDN of React into the JavaScript. Like you can just add React to HTML page in a minute, then you can just add the CDN into the JavaScript, and then it will work like this kind of a CDN you can just add, and then it will work. But moreover, make it more to use React to its best, we can use all the fundamentals and why React has made all those stuff all together. We are going to create with Webpack. Again, what is Webpack? So Webpack is basically creates all of these like Webpack basically creates this JavaScript, all the JavaScript modules, and combines all together and make it like prettify everything and just make it shorter for deployment. And the compiling and everything are there, which Webpack handles. And again, a lot of more stuff is there if you go and learn more on Webpack and Webel. So these are basically I guess I wrote wrong. Okay. Okay, so these are just the bundler again. These are just for the sake of knowledge, because under the hood, how React is getting work and all of these things. If you don't know the basic, if you don't know how everything is working in code, then how would you code along? Like suppose for now you can just write code and get something done, right? But in future, if you're going to extend your knowledge and everything, then how you are going to do it? So that's how these kind of package, these kind of modules and all like this kind of knowledge is that how these particular like we are going to use this particular library called React, but how it is going to work behind the scene, those fundamentals also are also needed, right? So again, you don't need to go to everything, but just for the basic fundamental, it just bundles your entire application. Like suppose you have multiple modules, multiple packages, and it just bundles to a simplest one. Like suppose if you have multiple JS file, as we are also going to do, and as usually we do in the entire projects, like the even not even complex project, but even in a simple project, we create multiple JS files and everything, because we are going to create multiple components, multiple modules and everything. So what bundle does, bundle makes all of these JavaScript file and all of these and compiles all of this all together and creates a static one to deliver in a simple way. So again, there are more if you want to learn more on this, like if you are like me, like to get more deeper into knowledge and learn more and more, and just to make it understand, like suppose if you know these kind of knowledge, then you can like you can customize even the React components and the in the deeper level. So now how we can create this React? So there are multiple ways of creating React, like create React app. So to create React, there are multiple ways as we have here. So recommendation tool chains, a React team is primarily recommended the solutions. Okay, so there are multiple ways. Suppose create React app, Next.js and Gatsby. Again, we are going to come up with these stuff, what these actually are. Like suppose if you go to this, create React Native, create React app. So the code we are going to run is as like while creating a node pack, a node project, we did something like npm init, and the same way we are going to create npm x create React app. And what it will do is just create the entire folder structures and everything into our project. And the same way, the Next.js is also there. And there are different reasons to use different services we can call. So if you're learning React or creating a new single page app, create React app because this is very user friendly. And if you're building a server render website, like suppose with APIs and everything, then Next.js is preferable. If you're building a static content oriented, like suppose certain maybe portfolios or something, then Gatsby is there. So if you just go to their, I don't know if they can prefer. Yes, of course they can. So if you go to Gatsby, if you go to Next.js, and also if you go to create React app. So create React app is again belongs to Facebook, and this one. So create React app belongs to Facebook. So this is how we are going to create npx create React app, my app, and this is how everything is going to work. And Gatsby and these are third parties, but again, both of them are brilliant on their job. But the reason why what you should choose is like suppose today you are learning React, right? So for now we are going to work with maybe create React app, but tomorrow you might come up with something like you are going to create a static app and you want to learn more advanced React, right? So again, the fundamentals and everything would be same as we are going to learn from today in this bootcamp, but few changes, like suppose maybe for creating the app, you like suppose for now today we'll be creating something like npx create React app, and for Next.js there would be something different, and for Gatsby there would be something different, and setting up all this project would be a bit different, but the syntax and everything are going to be mostly same. Okay, perfect. A lot of introduction. Now we can move forward to now we can move forward and create our React app. So let's go and do something like, here we go. So now we have Zomato clone, but this is backend. So let's create one more file here, folder, which is going to be, we can call it Zomato CLINT. Zomato client means the front end, but without a space. This looks good. Zomato client. Client means front end. Now this is where we are going to work. So let's just open our this and page here. Add this, close this. Now on Zomato clone, on Zomato client, maybe, no, I guess. Okay, so there are one thing. Now while creating node application, okay. So while creating node application, what we did, we created a folder, like we created a folder, and into that folder we run a command like npm init, right? But this time we don't need to create this Zomato client. Why? Of course, you don't need to do it. Why? Because if the moment we are going to run this package npm create React app, this is going to work right away. This is going to create the folder for us. So let's do it. We can go to the package again. Let's open our terminal and let's see how everything is working. So for now, we are into Zomato clone. So let's go a folder back. Now we are into the MERN Bootcamp 2020. Now let's create npx create React app, right? Now this npx belong to npm, which is going to run these particular command. And now we are going to mention the folder we want to name. We want to name it Zomato client. Now hit enter. So this is how simple to create a React application. Now this is going to take a bit more time, so we can wait for this. Like this is going to create the folder structure and the like the JS. Hold on, what? Because the npm naming instruction. Okay, so this says we cannot create the project name with Zomato client because there is an capital letter. So let's put it something like client but with hyphen. Zomato hyphen client. Now it's going to work. Okay, so this is going to install all the required packages and everything. Of course, we are going to review the folder and everything, what they have done. Yeah, okay, so this is going to work on their own. Now let's go and check moreover how we are going to move forward. Okay, so the hello world. Now let's learn how React actually works. Name of the folder should not be in caps. Yes, same like Node, right? Yes, almost same like Node, but few differences there. Like suppose to create a Node project, you run npm in it, and to create a React project, you run npx create React app and the corresponding folder name, like the corresponding project name. Now, how React works. So let's understand the main functionality. Like suppose if you go to the home page, it says component based, right? So this is their main selling point. Like the React has components. So let's understand what is components. React component lifecycle. No, maybe visualizer if we can get something like you know. No, there is not much. Okay, perfect. So we can utilize the zone, what zone has. Yes, perfect. Okay, now suppose this is a page, right? Now, how React is going to work, like suppose if you're going to design these page, like this home page, consider this from daily.dev to this. By the way, this is just an extension which helps you to get updated with the updated articles and everything. It's good, by the way. Now, suppose if you're going to create this particular page, then what do you see? Now, the React fundamental is to see these page with components. Now, what is component? There are two things. One is component and second is element. First, let's understand what is component. Like suppose this is a card. This is a navigation tab. Now, in this card, we have so many items. Like suppose this is the header logo. Now this is the title. This is the timestamp, and this is the image. Now these are the action button. In the action button, this is save button, this is comments button, and this is upvote button, right? Now, how React sees everything. Like suppose what you are going to do is in HTML and CSS, what we used to do, like suppose if you're going to create this multiple cards, then we are going to create this multiple cards, or maybe we are going to fetch the data and create one card and loop all the time, right? That's very easy. But What about this one? All of these action button look same, right? Then why not to do the same thing right here? So here, what is going to be changed? The icon and the counts. So these two are different, but the design pattern, the size, the padding, the margin, or the colors, everything are same, right? So these are the stuff we see. We call this particular, every single box right here is component. But wait, there is something called element too. Now, what is element? Like a component which you cannot break down, or maybe you know something like, maybe a component, not a component, something, no, we can call it, yes, we can call it component, maybe a component which we are going to use to take some action. We call that element. Like suppose these are action buttons, right? And we can call it component, but better than the better word for this one is element. So all these are elements, right? We can take action of this logo page. If you tap here, then we go to this particular home page. So this is also the element. This image is the element. Like, and there are one more thing. Like suppose we cannot break this image down further, right? We cannot break this image and say this is another component, this is another component. But here we can break these particular component down. Like suppose this is the icon and this is the number. So there are two component again. If we break it, so there are two component. But in with this entire one, we can take certain actions, right? And not much we can break it. So we can call it element. Now it's going to be a bit more deeper, I understand. Now let's understand a bit more what how a React developer sees everything to design. Like suppose if a UI designer send you this, like suppose if we go to something like, maybe we should just stop this first, and then let's go, maybe UI UX. Um, we need to understand this in a very deeper way. So next time, if we are going to, like, the moment we start coding and everything, we should be very clear on what we are actually doing. Perfect. We can download it, but it's not needed anyway. Perfect. Okay, now suppose this is the page, right? So a UI designer give you this particular page to design and work on. Now what you will consider, this is a component which you are going to create, right? Now this is a screen, of course. Now what you are going to create, like suppose the component wise, this is a component, this is a component, this is a component, this entire thing is a component, and these are the sub components, right? These are again sub components, this is a components, these are the components, but again here this is the sub components, right? So this is how we see, and this is how we are going to code. Now again, why this theory is important? The moment we start coding, and you will understand it more deeper, the way we code in React, right? And that is much more fun and easier to create this. Like support this, right? So if you think about to create this, you are not going to create this element and this element, this element. In theory, you are going to, and also while coding, you are going to create only one element, and you are going to use the same module, the same component, or the same element every single time, and you will pass a certain value which will change the icon simultaneously. So it's fun to work with React. Let's do it. Oh, sorry, I did something wrong. Perfect. I guess our project is ready now. Yes, perfect. Happy hacking, but React is not at all getting used for hacking anyway. Or maybe some of the genius are still there who uses React. I'm not sure about it. So this is how our React project is going to be created. Now we can just delete this, and let's understand what is in our hand. Okay, so I've just zoomed a little bit, so if you can see them in the folder, should not be there. So yes, perfect. Okay. So now see, last time when we created this node package, again, I'm going to differentiate because so that you can memorize, your mind gets to adapt to it. Like suppose the moment we are going to create node app, at the moment we are going to create React app. So you know how our mind reads. Like suppose if I tell you A, then you are not going to remember this. But if I tell you what this is one, which is number, this is A, which is alphabet, then you are going to remember a bit deeper. This is how I train myself anyway. So the moment when I had created this node project, what I got is just this package.json and a few properties in it, right? And now we added so many stuff, like suppose we added this script, right? So these are the stuff we added and we got only this file. But now when we created this Zomato one, then we got a lot of stuff. And not only this, see, now we got a lot of stuff. Now what's going on right here? So firstly, React helps to create this get ignore, like suppose if you don't push all of these stuff anyway. And this is the source folder where everything get holds. So this is the source folder is everything what we are going to care about. And one more thing, which is public. Like if you see, let's understand the public first, then we can move forward to source. We are going to do everything with source only, but public needs to be understand. So here, this index file. So ultimately, the way we are going to create a project with HTML and CSS, the same way this React works. So this public is basically the static folder where the static element stays. Like suppose if you are going to suppose if you are going to create this folder, and if the moment you try to deploy it, it's not going to work. What you go then what you have to do, you have to create a bundle of these entire project. Like suppose these project, like suppose the folders and everything, the website is not going to learn how website is going to understand that this is a website or something. This is the way, like doc type HTML and the static HTML and everything, right? So this is the way it works. And suppose if you see something here, div id root, and this is where everything is going to store, like into this particular div. Yes, into this particular div. Now how we can say that, let's understand a bit deeper. Everything is there, everything is going to be bundled and stored there. When we are going to hit some scripts, of course we are going to come up with those, and of course we will give a short of revision. But now let's understand what's there. See, as I've just showed this root. Now document get element by id, this root. Now they are getting that particular div, and here this is going to be render. React DOM. What React DOM does? So React DOM has many works, but here in this case, React DOM is basically uh, taking two parameter. If you see, like this is the first parameter, and there is a comma, and this is the two parameter. So this render is basically saying, take this particular project, like while you are working on local. So take this particular project, and if you also build bundle, then this is how it's going to work. So get this particular project, we are going to come up what is this project and what are these every code and everything. So take this particular code and merge this to this place, which is document.getElementById and root, which is that div we just showed in the HTML file. So this is where in this div every single React code, every page, everything is going to be stored. Now, again, I know there's a lot of question, like suppose if in this div, everything is going to be stored, so how the route is going to work, how the component is going to work, how this is going to, and so on. Of course, we are going to come up with those. So now this render is going to create this entire project, right? But now let's understand what is this. So before this, let's go to our app.js. This is a lot of fun, but this is oh man, this is old code. So I always like to work with uh, ES6 one. So let me just quickly convert this code to ES6 function, arrow function. Yes, now it looks perfect. Okay, so what are we doing here? Now I know you can see these are the HTML code, right? Yes, these are perfectly HTML code, and of course we are going to work with HTML, but not explicitly because I've told that a prerequisite was HTML and CSS. We are not going to work much HTML. We are not going to put so much HTML and CSS right here, but majorly going to focus on React itself. So what is this called? This is the no, including this one. This is the code we are going to call a component. Yes. And how we can understand this is a component? Because suppose this is the entire application. Consider this is a component, like you can consider this as cart, you can consider this as the button or anything. The same coding pattern is going to be like there would be a callback function, and in that function there would be something like return, and this will return the HTML div. Now please note this, there is a div, this div and everything else under this div. Like suppose this return is not going to handle multiple div here. This is not going to handle multiple div here. It can only handle one single tag or one single wrapper you can call. Okay, there are multiple questions are arising. Let's see what are those. What was the command to make create app using npx? So as I told, it was, let me just change it to errand meeting. Let me just write it down here. Npx create react app and project name. That's all. And npx creator, okay, someone already wrote there, make sure that was the matter should be in lowercase. npx creator, okay, perfect, I wrote anyway, fine. Okay, there are already people who are helping me out. If and again, if you're getting any queries, if you're not getting anything up, you know what I am getting is something like I'm explicitly making you understand every single thing, which is like more explanation are not needed, or maybe you are not coming up with more queries. Okay, let's go more deeper. Now, this is a component, right? What are we doing here? We are creating a short callback, not a callback, an arrow function where we are returning a tag, like a wrapper basically. And in that wrapper, everything else is there for sure, but we are just returning this, right? And suppose if you want to do certain calculations or anything which is based on JavaScript, like suppose we want to console something, we want to loop something or anything, we are everything else we are going to do under this function and above this return, right? Perfect. Now let's see how it's going to work. Now suppose now this is the function, right? Now we are just exporting this function by default. So this particular model is exporting this function, and we are importing this right here, this app here, this, and we are using it like this. Now this strict mode has a different reason to use. Like suppose this strict mode is basically don't let you, again, those are advanced React, we are going to come up with those. That's just to prevent all of those things, we now we can remove it actually, these are not necessary, trust me. Now this is the app. Now again, if you can notice, this is something like self-closing tag. Now you will come up with many more stuff like this, but this is the same as like this. Suppose this could be any this could be literally any tag. Like suppose this could be div, this could be h1, not h1 because at least you need to put some text. Or suppose if you want to add certain div, like this might be like div or anything. If there is nothing between this wrapper tag, then you can just do this right away. Like suppose this also could be div, and this is same equivalent to div opening tab and div closing tab. So this is the specialty of React. And one more last thing before running this particular project is noticing this class name. So while working with CSS, the way we work, like the way we mention ID and class name and everything is a bit different than React, because in React what we do is like this. We mention this class as class name. So don't forget this. This class name is highly important because, as a beginner, you might go up with something like class all the time, but when you realize it is not going to work. Perfect. Now let's run this project. Client, it's too huge. Now, to run this project, you know how a node, again, all of these are based on Node, right? Because Node, under the hood, Node is working because, you know, Node is the engine which is helping this JavaScript code to run on the browser. So we can go to this package.json and see now we have a lot of stuff which are like, suppose these are pre-installed dependencies which React literally needs to run. Like suppose as we had discussed, React DOM, React itself, and so on. And there are also prerequisite scripts. Start is there, build is there. So build is basically create this entire project and push to the public static folder. We are going to come up with those, test and eject and so on. Eject is for advanced users. Like suppose if you want to, like suppose the webpack and everything is still there, configured behind the scene. But if you want to, if you want to configure those webpacks, like suppose if you understand how webpack works, if you want to configure it in your own way, then you can just run eject script and it will eject. And the way we run this script, you all know this. If you can, if some of you can put on the chat box how we can run this start. If we want to run start, how we can run it. npm start. Why not npm run start? Anyone? Can anyone help me to understand why not npm run start? No, it's npm only. It's npm only. Because start is basically the default script. That's why run is not needed. But if you're adding something custom, like suppose build or anything, so it works. Now this looks great. Someone is already by default. Yes, good. Okay, so this is the page which is going to be rendered. Now let's understand. Put it this, and we need this here. Or we can just, you know, convert this to the phone one, because we are going to build Zomato, so that is absolutely fine. Perfect. Okay, so this is what going to be rendered, right? And see how it did. Compiled successfully, like all the codes has been compiled. You can now view Zomato client in the browser. Local is this, and on your network, like suppose you can also run this particular project on your phone with your IP address and the same port which you have mentioned. Actually, we have not mentioned. What React does is React literally runs this on 3000 by default, 3000 port by default. And it also says like if you want to go for production one, go for production build, you can run npm run build. So this looks good. Now let's go and see how React works. So this looks good. Now if you want to edit something, you can, okay, let's just edit all of this together. We don't want anything. What we want is simply an h1 tag which says hello React. Save. Now see, the moment I save it, it reloads. Now again, see, if we do something like this, now see, the moment I touch here, it is going to reflect. And please notice how it's going to be refreshed. It has not been refreshed because this is the power of React. It says hot reloading, and this is quite fast, and it literally boosts up the development experience. Like suppose if you're doing something, anything, like you're just coding it here and just control save, and it gets on the screen fluently. Okay, so this is how React is going to work. It's really smooth. Okay, so now we are going to work with a lot of things, but again, just to illustrate a bit more, um, we also don't, no, we need this, we might need this. Just to understand a bit more component stuff, let's add one more component here. Suppose we are going to create the create component on other stuff, but let's say, maybe we can call it, again, every component here is something. Now every component or any element, anything or any module we are going to create, that should start with capital letter. In React, this is the standardized one, so I can't help on this. Now greetings, right? Now what we need to do, understand this, we are going to return something. What we are going to return, let's return, we can return the div and the hello world, but for now let's just return an h1 tag which says maybe hello user, right? So let's do this. Now this says, this is a component which says hello user, right? Now now suppose this is a particular component, right? Now how we can use this component in our application? Simply by using this and adding this just as a simple tag. That's all. This is how we use this component. Now we have just created a component and we have just added that component into our application. Now control save and boom, hello user. Now we can just rename this to something like 4. So it helps to understand what we are actually doing here. Hello React, yes. So hello user, maybe we can remove this. Hello user, right? Now, again, this is the component we have just built and we are returning this, and we are, the way we are going to use this component is this. Now as I told, this is the self-closing one, right? Now we can also use something like this, and again this uses the same way, hello user. So the self-closing tag is basically, if there is nothing between two tag, you can just use self-closing tag. This is the React functionalities. Now, if you notice here, the moment I saved, actually the prettier is here to, convert my code, actually make my code more optimized. So I had added this bracket and then returned it, but as it has seen that there is no sub tag, like suppose there is no sub tag, like suppose this is not div, and under that div there is no another tab. It is just a simple line, so it just converts to this, and it's absolutely fine. And we can also, like, just to make it more optimized, we can also do something like this, and this is still going to work because ultimately with these component this is going to return, but this is not the way we are going to use because there are a lot of stuff which is going to come up. Now, suppose this is saying hello user, right? Now, suppose we want to say, we want to pass something in the user, like suppose this is the component we want to use, but this should not be static, right? Right now, this is a very static one. Now we want to say, suppose hello Ayush. Now, how we can say this? How we can change it? So we need to change here. Now, suppose in this application, we are getting this Ayush, like suppose we are fetching some data and then we are getting something like user name, right? Suppose we are getting from anywhere and the username is suppose Ayush. Suppose the username is Ayush. It like suppose we are getting it from the API or from any other data, or maybe we are calculating something, maybe 2 plus 2, or then we are getting it that could be anything. But we have something like Ayush into the application, or maybe the parent module, or maybe the parent component, but there is a subcomponent we need to pass into this. Now this is called something like digging into component. Now suppose how we can do it, we simply can pass this right here. The way we pass it, like suppose we can pass something like user name, which should be this username. Now, the way we are going to pass is this, but again, as we know, JavaScript uses this, but this time it is not going to work. This is the way we are going to use. And the way we are going to use this one here is, I guess we are going a lot of stuff a long way without theory, which I don't like. Let's go a bit more theory here. Main concept, components and log and elements. Okay. Rendering elements, as we already went through. Suppose this is the element, and the way React renders, as I've showed. Again, go through these documentation. Trust me, you will go more deeper to React and you would fall in love with this. And you would literally know how React is working. And that is highly needed when you are going to scale your career into this. So this React DOM, this basically renders the element into a root DOM node, which we are getting from root. So this is the way we are going to use it. And yes, the same way we already went through this. Got it. Component and props. Okay, components, as I told you, again, a short theory is component let you split the UI into independent, reusable pieces and think about each piece is isolation. This page provides introduction and so on. So this is highly important. Components let you split the UI, as I've shared with you, like suppose this is a card and then so on and so on. So split the UI into independent, reusable pieces. You can reuse that any other module and so on. And think about each piece is isolation. Like suppose you can change, you can modify based on the input or maybe the parameter, and you can change everything else into that particular component or maybe to the particular card or the element. We can call it anything. Now, functional and class components. Again, there are two type of class. This is also needed. This is the function class and this is the class component. Like this, the if you are more passionate on class and you want to exceed with class, in this bootcamp, we are not going to work with class because it becomes a bit more noisy. Like it sounds a bit more noisy to me, but React literally this functional components literally helps the developer experience a bit more clean. So I prefer the development one. Okay, so this is the way rendering component. No, this is not. Yes, rendering component as I've shared this div and so on. Now this is no, yes, props. Okay, so there is a component, this, and this is the element we are going to return. Any theory on component? No, any theory on props? Composing component extracting? No, no. Props. So, okay. So these are the props. The way we are going to pass all this data. See, these are the reusable component, and we are going to use this. Oh, they gave the same example. Trust me, I'm reading this this documentation after so long. I read this while 16 or something, maybe, but this is so fundamental, and I will still know. By goodness, good. Okay, so this is the way we are going to use, but I use this in a different way. I don't think there's a way, but let's use this and then we'll understand because this is a constant. Okay. Uh, Now here, not like this. Yes, perfect. Go to our application and the way we are going to pass this, and here we are going to receive something like this and username. Now this username needs to be passed here, and how we can pass it? Simply like this. See, how simple is it to pass a parameter from parent component or anywhere to a component, and you can use it literally so many times. Like suppose as we just read the documentation, we can just remove this and write something like this, or maybe Ayush, and this time maybe Dia, or maybe Jakrit. Perfect. See, now the same component we are using, now we can customize it a bit more deeper level, like suppose the class and everything like that, from the designing perspective to the component perspective, like adding multiple headings or maybe multiple elements to into this and so on, right? But the best thing about React is we can use these particular component anywhere we want, and we can also use the props, like the properties and properties to change the element or anything. Like suppose this is not only for the sake of this text, but also in style or anything. We can take anything from the properties and then we can use it anywhere into that component. This is the power of React basically. Now let's move forward and go a bit more deeper, but I guess we already went through a lot, but this is the time for your task. And today, I don't think we are going to exceed. And this should be the one. Okay. And of course, I'll push this data, but before that, let me just clean all this because, okay, I'll just clean all this and then I'll push, but most of these are not needed. I'll just clean a bit. But the thing is, most importantly, what you need to understand, these game of component and the properties. Now, again, tomorrow we are going to work with state management, something called, let's go to this and see state and life, folks. If you want to move forward and learn this in advance, so let's suppose if you want to learn this in theory and then tomorrow while practicing we will get more understanding into this, then go to the React documentation. Simply go to reactjs.org or any doc or any from anywhere, Google or somewhere, go to the documentation, sorry, go to the home page. Now go tap on the docs and then go to the main concept and then 5 state and life cycle. You can also search on Google React state and life cycle. You will get it. Just go through this and learn a bit more deeper, like just go through the theories and everything. This is highly important. Like suppose you are going to manage the entire React app, like any, you won't write any component, any module without this state management. And this is highly important. And this has a lot of stuff to learn. So just to go through this and get the theory first, and then tomorrow when we'll be practicing on this, when we're literally coding on this, then you will get a bit more deeper understanding into this. And again, if you're going through the property, if you're going to this through this documentation, then and if you're not getting anything or maybe if something is not clear, you can of course reach out to me on Instagram or maybe on the Telegram. Instagram is much preferable, and you know my ID already. Just reach out to me and we can also learn together to this, because I'm not here only to show you these are this stuff how it's going to be, but trust me, I am here to help you out by holding your hand and literally drawing around this. Like this is how we are going to do, and I really want you to grow with this. If you are moving forward to this industry, everyone in this industry welcomes you, and just keep learning. This is the best industry you can ever be, because here what it requires you to be an always learner. uh that's all for today. Anyone have any queries on React or anything? If you want to move forward with, we can have a short Q&A session and then we can move forward. Thank you, you're welcome, you're a rock bro too. Okay, I'm still waiting for your messages. Today class was interesting. Yeah, for me too. You know what? I literally love React, man. I really love React. The way I'm working in with all of these frameworks, React is the best one. Is React a library or framework? Okay, Nidhi, what do you see here? I think you have joined my class from half, I guess. It's simply library, and I have already mentioned what is the difference between library and framework. And again, as you know, the best way to learn, okay, what I'm doing, the best way to learn is to more Google this days. Like if you want to learn more, Google more. Again, if you want to learn more, just know how to Google more. So simply just type on Google library versus framework, and you will get much more deeper understanding from Free Code Camp. This is the best website you can learn for free. And this is honestly, their documentation, their articles and everything is like so precise. And you can also learn from somewhere like Medium, if you most of you know. Yeah, I have joined a bit late. It's okay, Nidhi. You can also like you can join this class. You can also get a refreshment from this class, like suppose you can mail and everything. So those things are still there. But trust me, you have not missed much. And tomorrow, do not miss any class. Like tomorrow, don't miss. Actually, I haven't said this before, but tomorrow is highly important if you want to learn more deeper and into React and everything. So tomorrow is the best day. You can go ahead, and again we are going to hop up with many more stuff. So this is something which you can go more deeper between library versus framework. And I don't know what industry you are going to go in. Like suppose maybe you are going to go into startup, or maybe you are going to make your own something, but this kind of understandings are highly needed. So, and also suppose if you're going to go for a job or somewhere, then this might be one of your uh, question in the interview. Actually, I had this librarian framework. Like, what is the difference between librarian and framework? So these are very common fundamentals, but we are not going to learn only for the sake of giving interviews or something. Just go ahead and learn this for the sake of yourself and get more understanding into this. 15 days more to stack bootcamp feedback open. Okay, we are open to the feedback and feedback link and the attendance link on the chat box. Just go ahead and hit your attendance right there. Today we hit the century, 100. Perfect. Okay, so today was the 7th day of 15 days MERN bootcamp. Jigyashu, you there?
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights, and we all appreciate the effort made by you. We thank all the attendees for being here in the event, and that's all for the evening. And this was the day of the 15-day MERN stack, and we all appreciate your presence. Thanks for being here. And there's a link dropped in the chat box. Please fill in your attendance as well as your feedback, because your feedback matters to us. That's all for the evening. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, some of you are there. They're saying attendance link is not working, feedback link is not working. Can you please quick check?
I request the technical team to handle this.
Yeah, it's working now. Like I've opened it. Please fill.
Oh yeah, now it's open, I guess, right? Perfect. Just go and hit your attendance. It's needed at the end of the day. Thank you for explanation on how to visualize the page in terms of component and element. Ah, perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. Good night. And again, you have any queries, any error or something, we can just call more. We can discuss more on this on the Telegram group. Bye bye.